Hey, I'm Guy.
I'm John.
It's our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it and give this video a like.
Podcast below in the description. Check that out as well.
We're sponsored by Tito's Handmade Vodka.
#1 vodka in America. Go make yourself a cocktail.
Savor responsibly. The draft's a little out of whack right now. Now, again, if you draft 2 running backs and one of them hits, and you draft 2 corners and one of them hits, that'll put you in the Hall of Fame if you're one out of every 2 guys you draft becomes a starter for you, right? Like Elijah Mitchell, as long as Elijah Mitchell looks like that, if Trey Sermon doesn't play for 6 weeks, you go, yeah, but Elijah Mitchell looks like that. If Deommodore Lenoir is a starter, then the fact that you drafted Ambry Thomas ahead of him and Deommodore Lenoir plays more, ideally, it turns out you probably need both of them, right? But you can't always do the thing where it's like, oh, yeah, the 5th rounders are the ones that get nailed.
True, but if you get impact players, it'll catch up on you. But ultimately, like Richard Sherman was a 5th-round pick, and he became a Hall of Famer. But they also got Bruce Irvin, was their 1st-round pick, who was just a 5-year starter until they didn't resign him and he went somewhere else. But he was he was a starter on a Super Bowl team. So can you get starters out of these players? Can they play? Because to me, there's a big difference. Like I think Solomon Thomas is a good example. Complete whiff. If you could do it over again, 100% would not have picked him. But he was not like a healthy scratch by year 2. Like he was a 4-year start, 4-year player. Multiple year starter, and then as they got
Plays
better,
a freshman all the way to his senior year.
Yeah, which is fine. So it's like, can you just get that out of some of those guys? Which right now, it's only week 1, and now we got really old school. This would be week 1 coming up because you got 16 more weeks, right, of games. So
Wait,
can
what?
you, or I guess 17 more? You got because there's 17 weeks left in 16 games.
Oh yeah, so you're saying there's 16 weeks left.
Back in the day. So this was as
week 0?
As I saw a bunch of Packers fans tweeting, like they're just treating this like the 4th preseason game. What's the biggie, Ultimately, you just need to get several of your high-end guys. And listen, it's not just this draft. Kinlaw and Ayuk factor in. Those guys were 1st-round picks last year. I'm sorry, you just need impact with your high-end guys. Especially big picture, you can't just fill in everything with free agency. They're going to need some players that they've drafted over the last couple of years to fill in the roster on this team. Not trying to get ahead of ourselves, but in 22 and 23, it's a nature of team building. You're going to be as good as some of these guys are going to become as just like, can they be high-end role players or are they just whiffs?
Right. Well, I mean, McGlinchey being a 10-year starter for them at right tackle is going to be a big part of that fabric, right? If you backed up McGlinchey and then hit Bosa and Samuel the next year and you're punter for the next 10, 12 years, whatever, good. If he's not, and Bosa's really the only 1st-rounder you hit in like a 3-year span, when you had because they have Kinlaw, Ayuk, boom, boom, Bosa, McGlinchey, that's 4, Thomas Foster, let's not forget about Rubin in 15, that's 5. So that's 5 1st-rounders in the course of a 4-year, 1, 2, 3, 4 stretch. Does that add up? No. 2, 4, 6. Sorry, I can't do math. 6 1st-rounders in a 4-year span, right? Well, if Kinlaw and Ayuk, if Ayuk's really good and Kinlaw's solid, that's 4 of your 6 are impacting your football team. If Kinlaw's always hurt and Ayuk's not playing in week 2 much either, now your 2 of your 6 are impacted. There's a big difference.
Because let's face it, their 1st-rounder this year is not having that much of an impact at this rate, right? So if you factor in Trey as well,
right?
Yep. Because he could have just been some other player. He could have been, I don't know, Devontae Smith or, whoever. You just name the player, right? Kyle Pitts. Someone that helped them. They're getting a guy that potentially, worst case from an impact standpoint is playing 2 or 3 plays a game, which also could turn into best case. That means they're probably winning if that's what they keep doing. But you do limit the better teams you play, you just need more higher end players. Like I got the Rams in the background. Like every once in a while, you just flash. You're like, oh, there's Jalen Ramsey. There's fucking Aaron Donald, right? Those are the guys that make most of the plays. You're good players. That's why Ohio State, Oregon. There was 5 guys that you truly remember from the game. That's what happens in high end games. The cream rises to the top, and the Niners are going to be they're depending on these guys being high end players.
Well, and who knows?
They drafted high.
Especially at the running back spot where they use multiple guys a year. They probably will need both Trey Sermon and Elijah Mitchell, right?
One problem for them, though, is Mozart is for them a high-end player. Like he is clearly really good, right? You saw that first drive, you're like, God damn, this guy can run.
Yeah.
You know, those
Well,
outside pitches, he can hit that.
you
But
can't.
remember when they made their Super Bowl run? He was a blue chip guy for him. Like how he played, his play, blue chip. So can they get combined out of, let's just say Mozart, he's going to be in and out of the lineup all year long. Can they combine the next three guys to combine into one Mozart? I don't know. Mitchell was good today, but he's playing the Lions.
Yeah.
He's going to need some help.
Well, that's why I say he's going to need Trey Sermon to be solid for him. And I think it's clear you're going to need Ambry Thomas at some point.
You know what it shows you? And we talked for months about the draft. A guy from Ohio State that transferred to Oklahoma, or vice versa, started at Oklahoma, went to Ohio State. You would go, who's more ready to come in and help the Niners that have playoff expectations? The guy that transferred from Oklahoma that went to Ohio State and was with Justin Fields up until the national championship, or this dude from this school in Louisiana, not LSU, but one of those other ones, runs really hard, take him like late round, and then it's like, no problem, he beats him out. And it's like not even a question clearly in Kyle's mind. Like, that guy's fucking playing. One injury, Kyle just rides that guy. But it goes back to the draft. We do it every year. I'm as guilty. We're all guilty. It is impossible. No one knows. Because,
John, let's tell the people about DraftKings. Promo code HAM. Click on the link. Get in our league down below.
How about wineaccess.com/ham? Buy $150 worth of wine, get $50 off, guy. $50 off, wineaccess.com/ham.
Oh, it's the good stuff.
Does Elijah Mitchell, now maybe he would have if he would have got there by the time he was like 22 years old, but in no world would we be like, I bet Elijah Mitchell would be better than Trey Sherman right now in Ohio State. Like, no one would say that.
Right.
But then 6 months later, you get around like better players, and this guy's already better. And it doesn't seem weird. Like, I watch him run, go, God damn, I'd fucking run him too.
In college, and maybe this will change, the best player doesn't always play if it's close. Sometimes you're like, oh, well, we got the 4-star guy that transferred. We're going to play. The other guy he'll get next year. Now the portal's around, and you can't hold a guy till next year because that guy just might be gone, right? If Elijah Mitchell's your backup running back, and he got 3 carries against Michigan and ran for 60 yards and a touchdown because he had an explosive, you can't keep him on the bench behind Trey Sermon because he just might transfer to Penn State. Yeah, I don't need you. Whatever, I'm out of here. You can't do that where you like hold me down. In the NFL, you don't play that game about, oh, well, this was the local 5-star guy, and his high school coach also has this other guy, so I got to keep him happy. You don't play that game. You don't play the game. This guy we watched his college tape, and we're like, yep, that looks like Hal Shanahan running back. And then he looked the same or maybe better in the NFL today.
It looked exactly the same, but what he was doing at Louisiana Lafayette or Tech or wherever the hell he played against like that level of competition. Now, this was the Lions, but I was thinking today watching Okudah. Do you remember in that draft, everyone was like, Okudah, this can't miss.
Yep.
Okudah, he's just the corner. This is what it looks. Revis, this is the type. Like this guy, you plug and play. You got yourself a lockdown corner, decade. Healthy, 14 years, multiple second contracts. And it's like he's one of the bigger busts right now in the league.
I was like,
he's on a terrible team. He looks terrible.
Now Matt Stafford's on another team, and they didn't draft Justin Herbert because they drafted Jeff Okudah.
I know. It's just.
And now they're going to spend the next decade looking for a quarterback.
But if you would have said, if like Jeff Okudah on draft night would have gone maybe where he would, if you could redraft right now, let's say Jeff Okudah is not even close to a first round pick, and Jeff Okudah goes like pick 69 or something. That would have been the number one story in the draft, right? Like by the third night, like Jeff Okudah, this guy to the third round. Did people find out he killed someone? But then you watch him like 2 years later, you're like, God, this guy's a major liability out there. The team hates him. It's just shit changes so fast, which is fun. I mean, we love talking about the draft as much as anyone. This draft was awesome, but it is just that.
Yeah,
it's just draft talk.
Yeah, but there's also no perfect prospect, right? Like the way we talk about a player, and you know this because you've been in the draft rooms. Like almost every player, there is something else. I'm not saying a skeleton in the closet, but there's just but. If he's gonna fail, if we just did a thing on every prospect called "If he's gonna fail, why would he fail?" We'd miss on that too. We'd be like, yeah, he failed, but it wasn't for the reason we thought he was gonna fail. But there would be stuff, right?
Yeah.
There would be stuff.
And in fairness to Okudah, like it is hard to excel for the Lions, right?
Right.
It's easier. Is Elijah Mitchell, if he goes to a different team, maybe he doesn't make the team. Like scheme is very uniquely tied to the sport. Like if I'm a great point guard, I'm going to the majority of programs and I'm going to have an impact. If I'm a certain type of running back, I'm going to have more success in certain schemes than others. Like you said, when we watched Elijah, it was like, yeah, this is the ideal guy. Kind of ran like Raheem Mostert, I thought.
We're like, where have they been hiding this guy? He's perfect. Like I'm sure I would imagine Kyle's reaction when he saw that tape was, or like if you're one of his scouts, if you're Adam Peters and you're like, think of it like you're like a personal shopper and you find a sweater like, oh, this would be perfect for John. This color would look great with his skin tone. You see that running back, you're like, oh, got a piece. Go ahead and hit the shopping cart. Kyle will love this one.
Well, I had this thought watching Ohio State, Oregon yesterday. All Oregon's DBs, Lenore's the Oregon guy, right?
Yeah.
They all look cool in the uni because any guy that's like 6 feet, 195 pounds, you just look cool in it. You're all skinny. You just look like you're born to wear a uniform. Every guy in their defensive backfield thinks 100% they're a pro. And they should. Same thing with Ohio State, like all the DBs. Yet there's probably 2 pro DBs out of the group, maybe more, get ultimate shots, but the guys, they're going to get drafted really high. Yet there are guys on other random shitty teams. Like there might be a dude on like Vanderbilt right now.
UNLV
much
has
better
a corner.
Yeah.
I mean,
a better prospect. Yeah, maybe not them. But like Nevada, let's say, or, just a random UCF, where if you told that number 7 or 8 on Oregon or 5 on Ohio State, they'd be like, are you fucking high? I played Ohio State. I start for the Buckeyes. I'm a 3-year starter, dog. And in their mind, they're 100% right. Like, I don't blame them for thinking that. But that guy is 100% a better pro prospect, and he's going to get drafted higher. And that's the thing with the NFL. Like, you just see it when it happens. The one thing you notice immediately with Sewell, he's really powerful, and because he's so strong. So it's like, you know what? He actually is very comfortable on the left side. When Nick just tries to run him over, and he got him once on a bull rush that I think ended up leading to a Nick sack, but it was more just a hustle sack. Was like Sewell's going to be able to handle just a guy running at him. Like he's built for that. Now there's some speed stuff he'll figure out, but it's like that is if you just have something to work with, like that's what you want to work with. Like it's just you can tell right away physically, right? Like remember Eric Flowers? There was like 2 snaps. You're like, oh my god. Or even the Jonathan Martin thing. It was just like, no, he cannot do this. And you just knew right away. But anyone, Jonathan Martin coming out like 6'6", got great feet. He's coming from Stanford. At the time, they're putting all these pros. We always, and we did this when I worked in the NFL. And since now that we do this for a living, we talk about it. It's tried and true. 3-4 months later, we're having all these conversations every single year. It's like, we should have known, guy. We should have known.
But that's what makes the draft. That's part of what makes the draft fun, right? If every pick 1 through whatever it is, 560.
You got an automatic ROI on the pick or whatever.
Or 260 is the number. If it was just always like, yep, the first guy is always the best player, the second guy is always the second best player, then it wouldn't really matter who you would just. It wouldn't. But it's the risk. It's the did we just make the greatest decision we've ever made or a colossal mistake? I don't know. We'll find out in a year or 2 or 3. Tua, Herbert, I will find out. that for every guy that's a warning. We forget when the draft rolls. We're like, no, this guy's perfect. And when it works, you go, we all knew Peyton was, of course, Peyton was the perfect prospect. We knew. Well, how many other guys did we know on that didn't hit? Did we know on Peyton? Like, did we really know? I mean, everyone talks Peyton and Luck. We knew. It's like, okay.
I thought he threw like 25 picks and they won 13 games. I bet some of those people watching that year thought, like, is this going to work?
Ramon.
Like just a GM watching him play.
Well, yeah, maybe it'll be solid, but I don't know. Ramon said, what was the point of trading up for Sermon in the 3rd round if they can get these late round free agent type guys to be successful in the scheme?
We don't think like that.
Well, that's the funny thing. It's you're like, no, I'm gonna get the best of the group right here because I'm gonna draft him before I draft the other guy.
Well, if they would have taken Elijah Mitchell in the 3rd round, people around the league would have been like, are these guys nuts? Yet 2 years later, it would have been, potentially you'd be like, oh shit. If we could do that over, we would have taken Richard Sherman 7th overall. It's like, yeah, you took him in the 5th round. So it's easy to say 2 years later when he's an all-pro, You just never know that. But you know kind of quickly that you either got something. Sometimes you don't always know that you don't got something, right? There can be late bloomers. I do think you know when you got a problem. And the Niners have a knee problem with Kinlaw. I'm confident that his size alone, that worst case, he's just a functional player. I know that. I saw it last year. Like he's a function when he's on the field, you're fine. Like he'd play for every team in the league.
He's above replacement level.
Yeah. Now, how high is the ceiling? That to me factors in like you got to play. Like part of Buckner getting a ceiling, he just got better and better because he played every week. So you keep improving. It's impossible to improve when you never play. I mean, it feels like this guy's hit rate right now in games is, I don't even know, it's low.
And even if you did improve when you never play, the improve is the second part. The never play is the important part.
Exactly.
Anthony said Sherman thoughts. We did mention a little earlier that Shanahan mentioned Richard Sherman. Although I'll add to it, I said several months ago I brought up that I thought there was a chance they were going to miss him. I think some people thought I was kind of crazy because he wasn't he's no longer a shutdown corner, and running with guys is not his strength. Obviously, never was, and certainly is not anymore. But yeah, I think we're not that far away from him actually being able to help them. Now, we don't know his physical state, and right, he's got off the field all the stuff he's got to deal with and get himself right. But they're not that far away from him actually helping them.
Helping would be strong. Playing might be the right way to put
it. Playing is helping at this point. We just said with Kinlaw.
I might just see what you got in the two rookies before I do that.
But yeah, I mean, we're seeing what they got in Deommodore Lenoir. Like we're getting that, and we're gonna get more of Ambry Thomas too. But we'll see.
Yeah, I'm just playing those guys.
Great, they're gonna have an opportunity. You're gonna find out here real quick.
Yeah, but I guess my point is
I'm not
we're
confident.
A couple spots away from Richard.
And I'm saying I'm not confident it doesn't get there. I think it might get to that.
I wouldn't
say it's over 50% right now, but it's clearly on the table.
I could see when they come back, maybe a Richard Sherman workout just to gauge where he's at. In obviously not this week because wherever they are, but next Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah, just to figure out whether they should keep him on speed dial.
Yeah. Because who knows? I mean, what he's been doing, right? From a football standpoint.
That's why Kyle called probably.